Well, hey, today's topic is that vision attracts and repels. And I think this is a really important topic for leaders because we get so excited about our visions that we think that it's only going to attract people to it, right? We all think, well, why wouldn't they want to be a part of this vision? Why wouldn't they want to be a part of our team? Why wouldn't they want to be a part of the dream that we're going after? But the reality is, not everybody is going to be on board with your vision. Not everybody's going to see it the same way you do. Not everybody's going to be as excited as you are. And that's just a reality. And if you're going to be a magnetic leader, you need to understand that that's just a part of this. I have this illustration I love to show with these magnets here is that, when you flip them and they're not facing the right way, there's nothing I can do to push them together. But if I just simply flip it over, they'll come and connect. But once again, there's polarity here, right? There's on one side, the magnets will push away from each other. On the other side, they'll connect and they'll be very strong and hold together. I bring that up because when we talk about magnetic leadership, we talk about attracting the right people to your team, to your vision, to your cause. That could be team members, that could be customers, that could be clients, that could be donors if you're in a nonprofit setting. It could be a lot of things. But the reality is that there are going to be people who aren't as attracted to it. There are people that are saying, that's nice, but that's not for me. And we need to learn to be okay with that. In fact, we need to find filters to make sure that when we're sharing vision, when we're casting vision, that we're making sure that people who hear it, they either are a strong yes or a strong no, because that middle ground is dangerous. If you're playing that middle ground, if you attract people that have just a very, I'll say, vanilla, generic interest in what you're doing, it's not going to be good for you long term. It's not going to be good for the vision. It's not going to be good for the team, the morale, ultimately the success of what you're doing. So I really want to encourage you to think about, is your vision strong enough to filter out people that don't need to follow you or join you? But is it also strong enough to attract the kind of people you need and want on your team in order to accomplish that dream? So John Maxwell used to do something I found interesting. I heard him share this years ago at a conference. He said that when he had a vision for something, he would basically write it out and have his assistant laminate kind of a vision statement card. And he would basically go and have meetings with people, and he would slide the card across the table and say, here's my vision, here's my dream of what I want to accomplish, here's what I think we need to do. Read over this and tell me what you think. Or is this something you'd like to be a part of, or is it something that's not something that you want to be a part of? So what he was doing was he was filtering, right? He clearly communicated in a written form on a card that he would share with people, but he would give them the choice to be on board or to stay off board or get off board. He would say, here's the vision. Are you in or are you out? And it wasn't like he had hard feelings toward the person either, if they were out. He just simply wanted to make sure that they knew what they were saying yes to. And I think this is where a lot of problems happen in organizations. I see this in nonprofit boards sometimes where people are excited about a cause, but they don't really know what the cost is going to be to achieving that. And it could be time commitment, it could be financial commitment, it could be just going out and using that relational capital and inviting other people into the cause. And so what happens is you have people who think that they're in at first, and you think that they're in as a leader, but then they don't really know what they said yes to. They said yes to a cause, but there's also all sorts of activities and responsibilities that you would have to do as a leader, especially on a nonprofit board. And I think it's true in companies as well, for profit, right? Like as a person who's interviewing people to come into a team, are you setting the bar high enough? Are you setting the expectations clear enough? Are you making sure that that person who you're interviewing understands fully what they're interviewing to be a part of? Or are you maybe being a little too fuzzy and being too generic? And I think that happens in job postings. I think that happens in mission statements for organizations. I think it happens in all sorts of communication, to be honest. But the clearer we are about our vision, the more we're going to be able to attract or repel people to that vision. And that's okay. Once again, we need both. This is not a bad thing. If you feel like I've repelled people by sharing this vision and they don't want to be a part of it, I understand that that may kind of sting or hurt because you want everybody to be excited like you are. But the reality is, nobody, and not everybody rather, is going to be as excited as you are, and that's okay. And we just have to be okay with that. When we're okay with that, then we go about filtering, saying, you know what, the right people are going to be attracted, the wrong people aren't. And even if they're the wrong people for the vision, doesn't mean they're bad people, right? Not everybody that doesn't jump on board with your vision is a bad person at all. In fact, many people, they're just like, you know what, I'll cheer for you and support you from a distance. I'll even point people your way that I think might fit that vision, but it's just not for me. And that's hard. It's hard to be on the other side of it. I've been on the other side of it where somebody shared a vision and I respect that person. I care about that person. I care about the organization. And I sit there and think, you know what? This just isn't for me. Or maybe it was at one point and now it's not. My vision personally and the long range next steps vision of the organization or the team, maybe those things don't line up anymore. There's seasons in our lives or seasons in our leadership, and so I just want to encourage you today to really think about this fact that vision will either attract or repel. And that's a good thing. It's a needed thing. It's a necessary thing. But you have to be ready for that mentally, emotionally, in your leadership because it is going to be a factor that you have to address and understand. So maybe you're somebody that isn't in charge of the vision and you need to understand this and say, you know what? There are times where I know I've been all in. I'm excited about a vision. I want to be a part of it. I want to help accomplish it, accomplish those goals, those dreams of the organization, that leader. But then you also have to think back and say, well, there's probably been times where I wasn't excited. I mean, there's literally, like we know, there's a lot of people in the world that they show up to a job every day just to get a paycheck because they know they need to feed their family, they need to take care of their bills, they need the job, but they're maybe not as excited about the vision as maybe senior leadership is or the owner is. And the problem with that is that kind of both people suffer in that situation. And I'm not saying that situations don't dictate some of that for sure. I mean, not everybody's going to be all in and excited about everything throughout an organization, especially the larger it is. If you have layers and layers of complexity and responsibility and departments, you're going to have key people who are going to be excited and on board. You're going to have key people who are like, you know what, I'm here. I know how to do the job. I need the job. It's my career. So I'm not saying there's a perfect science to this. What I am saying is the more compelling the vision, the more clear it's going to be, am I in or am I out? And a lot of people, I think a lot of leaders fall short in being clear enough to raise that bar and to challenge people to make a decision. Because here's the thing, if your personal vision as a worker and a corporate vision aren't lined up, that mismatch, that misalignment is going to ultimately cost both entities. It's going to cost you as a person, it's going to cost the organization long term because you're not going to be as excited. You may put in the hours, you may put in the time, but it's going to be fairly apathetic. And I'm not saying that you're not going to do a decent job because you might have the work ethic to say, you know what, it's not my favorite thing, but I'm going to go do it because it's what I need to do right now in my life. I get that. Totally get that. What I'm saying though is that when you can find where your personal vision and the corporate vision align, it's like rocket fuel. It really helps you, it helps the organization just go to new levels. And so when somebody says, you know what, this vision or this next step, this next season is not for me, that's okay. There's actually on my wall here, I have a statement that says, don't change the seed, change the soil. Don't change the vision, change the location. And what I love about that, Dr. Miles Monroe mentioned that in a book called talking about authority and domain in our lives. Very powerful book. But the thing is, not every seed planted in certain soil is going to grow. But if you take that same seed and put it in a better soil for it, it can thrive, right? There are certain fruits and trees that can only survive in tropical climates that wouldn't survive in northern climates that are colder and have long winters and vice versa, right? So plants have an environment that they need to be in to thrive, and so do we as people. And so from a corporate side of things, you have to realize that your company, your organization is going to be the right environment for some people, but it's not going to be the right environment for all people. And as a worker, as an employee, as a team member, you need to be okay with the fact that not every place that I go is going to be the right fit for me. And it may be a right fit for years, but it may not be a right fit forever. Years ago, I was leading a team, and one of the people I had a meeting with her, and she was really upset because she'd been with the organization for about 10 years, and she felt like it was time to go, but she was really having a hard time moving on. And I had to say to her, I was like, look, you've given a ton of time, energy, and effort here, and we're very grateful for that. But there's a season that's closing, and it was obvious for her, as obvious for me as we were talking through this. And I said, it's okay to let go. It's okay to move on. You need to go where you're going to thrive. You need to go where it's best next. And she did. She moved on, and she finally got through that, and it was tough. Don't get me wrong. She had, there was a lot of emotional connections to that because she was highly invested as a employee and as a team member. But the reality was is that over that decade, a lot had changed. A lot of things, that she had been a part of were different than what they were at that point. And it was just time. She wasn't a bad seed. She just needed different soil. Her vision was changing, and she wasn't as aligned with the new vision of the organization, and that was okay. And so we had to talk through that, but that was really important for me as a leader to have that conversation with her and say, look, it's okay to let go. It had to be okay for me to let her go. She's still a friend today. She's still somebody that I stay connected to, and cheering her on from a distance. We're both not at that organization anymore, actually, but the reality is our friendship stayed strong, our relationship stayed strong, and it was just time for a change. Visions come, visions go. When you have a vision and you accomplish it, then it's time for a new vision. And when that new vision comes, then that means that you're going to have to invite people into that new vision. And some people are going to say, I'm in, and some people are going to say, I'm out. And the more we're okay with that, the more we embrace that, the better off we're going to be as leaders. The more you embrace that as an employee, as a team member, that may not be the one in charge of setting the vision and guiding the vision. The more you understand that this was a great run, this is a great season, it's a great situation that I was in, but now it's time for me to move on to something different. We grow, we evolve out of those seasons and those visions and those organizations too. I'm not doing the same thing was 30 years ago. I'm not doing the same thing I was doing 10 years ago. I change over time. You change over time. And, I admire people who stay in organizations for 20, 30, 40 years because that is very rare today. It's very uncommon compared to generations past. But I also know that there are a lot of people that stay in those situations and they're kind of miserable for 20 or 30 years. And I'm thinking you can go to some place better. You can go to new soil that's better for you to flourish and to thrive. But sometimes people just don't want to let go. And so this is not an easy situation. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it is, but I am saying that vision provides a clear line in the sand that people need to say, I'm in or I'm out. And as a leader, if you get better at clarifying that vision, at communicating that vision, and inviting people to the vision and tell them, look, I don't want mediocrity here. I don't want lukewarm commitment. I want like, are you hot and you're in, or are you cold and you're out? And either way, I'm good. We're good. But I need to know where do you stand on this? Because here's where we're going. I'm inviting you to join us. But if it's not for you, I understand. But if it is for you, I want you to be all in. I want you to be fully excited about this vision and where we're going. If you're going to show up and kind of just coast and kind of just put in the time and the hours just because it's punching the clock kind of mindset, that's not going to help anybody, okay? So be clear about that as a leader. Be clear that as a team member, that when you hear about a new vision, if you're a team member, make a decision like this is for me or it's not for me, and I'm okay with that. Um, and once again, I understand there are certain circumstances. I'm not saying if the vision doesn't excite you today, you just quit your job and you without any type of next step going forward. But I do want to challenge you to be thinking about, well, maybe I should find a better fit for me in my career path if this isn't the right vision for me because I want to be all in. I want to be the kind of team member that is all in. And as leaders, I want you to be able to find those kind of team members that are all in as well. So, hope this has given you some things to think about. And if there's anything that I can do to help you kind of process that or to kind of clarify your vision or how do you communicate it better, if you need that one-on-one help, or maybe you're saying, look, Chris, I need you to come in and work with my team and help us develop our skills as leaders and grow as leaders so that we can accomplish that vision and strategize about what that looks like, go to McClureCoaching.com. I'd love to have a call with you to talk about what that looks like and see if I can help you. So, um, but take this seriously. Make this a priority to really evaluate where are you at today based on your vision, and are you inviting people into this so that they can either have a strong yes or a strong no when they hear that vision. So take care, and we'll see you soon.